Imagine being in your 60s and not being able to retire because you don't have enough money. You've worked your whole life, but this is not enough. That's what happened to many colleagues of mine. And if this was difficult in the past, now for the Gen Z it is even worse. 53% of Gen Z see barriers to their financial success, and more than 50% are stressed and anxious about this uncertain future. But here the good news, you are not doomed to be poor, because you can grant yourself a bright future. And you can start now by these 5 money mistakes you must avoid in your 20s. Hi all, I'm Nico, and I've also been through this need of having enough money for my future to be able to live well. I am now 28 and I can definitely say I made it. I have a job that pays more than 100k per year. I have saved and invested more than $300,000, which grants me tens of thousands of dollars every year of return, of additional income. But I've also seen many friends making money mistakes that are now trapping them and destroying their future. And the first one, it is actually crazy because it is the dream of most of the people. It is a dream that through generations it is transmitted. And so people start searching for a job, and as soon as they find a stable job, they start saving for it because this is their first goal. But it actually destroys the finances of many people, as it did for some friends of mine. And this is to buy a house. Because I mean, you're still in your 20s, so you're still building your career, you're still building your family. And so it is extremely difficult to predict your future. Will you have kids? Where will you live? Where will you actually work? And also, what will be your income in the future? Those are all variables that you can't know when you're in your 20s. And also, normally when you start working, you have a low income. And this means that all your savings have to go for the house you want to buy, because otherwise you won't have enough. And so in this situation, what really happens, which is actually what my friends did. So you buy a house which you can afford on your low income. Because let's be honest, a bank is never gonna give you a mortgage which is above your income, even if you're in your 20s. And this means that the house you're gonna buy is probably gonna be smaller than what you really want or need, and also it will not be in the good area that you might have selected. And so you use all of your savings to buy this house, which means you can't invest, you can't save, and you're blocked in debt for 30 years. And so for those 30 years, you have a house which probably doesn't fit your needs, because you don't know if it will be fine for you. And so this means that you're gonna spend the following years paying for this mortgage, and you won't be focusing on actually building your future. And so that's why this is a terrible mistake, because in your 20s you're probably not ready, you don't have enough information to buy a house. And so as long as you don't have a clear vision of your future in terms of family and in terms of career, and also you can easily afford a house, don't buy it. Just wait, it will be better. The second mistake is actually the one that if you make this mistake, you won't be able to increase your income over the time. Which means that even in 20 years, you will still have the same salary or income that you have right now. And so this really makes an enormous difference on how your financial life will be. And knowing that, I participated to training to learn and read faster. I read tons of books about personal development, as well as I watched videos on finance and productivity. And I did all of this with one objective in my mind, which is to invest my money and my time to grow, to invest it in myself. Because if you don't grow as a person, if you don't grow your knowledge, your skills, you will never be able to improve your income. And that's actually the single thing that made me have a high-paying job. And thanks to this job, I know that my future is fine. I will be fine because I will never have money struggles. Because basically, if you don't learn new things, if you don't learn new skills, you will never develop yourself and you will never grow in your career. And so don't use your money, your time to just show off with your friends or the people in your community. Don't spend it to buy things that will never give you a return over the time, because all of this, it's useless and will bring you to poverty. And sure, I'm not saying like use every single penny you have for your personal development. You have to also enjoy life, that's clear. But investing in yourself must be your first priority when you're in your 20s. And so with your first salary, don't buy a fancy car, but rather buy some new books or buy a training that will help you develop yourself and grow in your career. And so we're now at number 3 of the money mistakes that you must not do in your 20s. And this is actually a mistake that will cost you $1 million. And so clearly it makes all the difference in the world, because having 1 million more at the time of your retirement, it will simplify everything so much. And actually this means that you might even be able to retire before the actual retirement. Because if you don't start investing as soon as you can, that's the amount of money you will lose. Because imagine that just investing $500 per month and you start when you're 20, when you will be 50, in this time you will have 1.1 millions. And so imagine just if you invest a little more, or also if you invest for more time. That's just a crazy amount of money that will totally change your life. And so this is a critical aspect on which you have to work, that you have to learn how to do it, and that you must actually do it. And so that's why if you want to learn how to do that, how to invest your money, and especially how to do it easily, subscribe to this channel. Number 4, most people pass through that. It can be because of student or personal loans, or also for credit card. Because yes, almost everybody at some point in their life they had debt. And so what actually happens when you have debt? That every month you have to pay back the money they lent you, plus the interest that you owe the bank. And the interest that banks put on the money that they lend you, it's actually super high. And this means that if you have debt, every month you're paying much more money compared to if you didn't have this debt. And this can easily be hundreds of dollars per month, which can really make a huge impact on your finances. And especially the very dangerous thing of that is that if you don't get out rapidly of debt and you don't manage to pay all the interests, those interests will have interest on them. And so every month your debt will not just increase, but the money you actually received from the bank, but it will grow exponentially, because the interest that you have to pay on that will have an interest, and also they will have an interest. And that's just a crazy amount of money that you will have to pay to the bank, and that will surely ruin your finances. And that's why it is super important to get out of debt as soon as possible. And also to know that having debt and not paying it will lower your credit score, which just means that when you will buy a house at some point in your life, the mortgage rate you will have will be actually higher than what they could have given you if you had a better credit score. And this means even more money that you have to pay the bank. And so if you are in debt, you have to get out of it as soon as you can. And if you don't know how to do it, I've also made a video that you can check here up about how to get out of debt very easily. And so number 5, this actually could be very controversial, but it actually makes a lot of difference in terms of finances. And this can be really one of the biggest financial mistakes you could make. Because when you take big and important decisions, you really have to check your finances. You have to be sure that you can afford these costs. And this means that if you don't have the financial resources for it, you should not have a child. Because a child costs a lot of money. In average, from age 0 to 17, a child costs $155,000. But imagine if you live like in a city, this price will be even bigger, even higher. And so if you don't have this amount of money to give to your child for his own good, he and you will not be fine. And I see that with a friend of mine, because at 24, despite he had a minimum salary, both he and his wife, they decided to have a child. And sure, they managed to live, they cover all their expenses, but how do they cover them? They cover them with debt, and also they're not making any savings, and they're not investing money. And this means that they will have enormous financial problems in the future. And so let's be clear, I'm not trying to say don't have a child. If you want a child, this must be amazing, so you should have it. But just be sure that you have the finances, the resources to take good care of it and of your financial future. Because in this case, it will be better for you and your child. And so as you understand, it is really easy to make money mistakes in your 20s that will ruin your financial life. And these are just the most important and common ones. That is why if you really want to be sure to live well, to enjoy your life, you have to learn more about personal finance. And doing that is actually very simple, because you only need to watch this playlist that I made exactly for that. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.